Good morning, and welcome to the Town of Surf City work session agenda. At this time, I am going to call on Councilwoman Trudy Solomon to lead us in our invocation and our pledge. If you would, please stand.
Dear Heavenly Father, we ask blessings upon all who have gathered here and those who are missing, who are important part of our town. Lord, we just ask that you help us to always put each other first, think about all the needs in our town, all of the wonderful talent and skills here, help us to find ways to work together efficiently and effectively, just making this town such a beautiful, unique, wonderful place to live and grow and work and play. You have blessed us with beautiful surroundings, and we just want to honor you in all that you've given us and do well with that. And we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, welcome to today's work session. Before we move forward on adoption of the agenda, could I have a motion to excuse Mayor Pro-Tem Jeremy Shugarts from this meeting?
I'll make a motion.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to excuse Mayor Pro-Tem Jeremy Shugarts. At this time, can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to adopt the agenda. And at this time, we're going to call on public comment. There is no public comment for today, so our first item today is discussion of property PIN number 4234. 799-826-0000, and our town manager, Kyle Brewer, will present.
Good morning, Madam Mayor and council and members of the public and staff in the audience. First agenda item before you is just a discussion of parcel number 4234-79-9826-40s. Specifically, the manager's office has received interest in purchasing this property that the town owns. A little history on it is that in December of 2020 or November, late November 2020, the town was gifted this property by the Batts family. The town accepted that gift and we put it into our system, or repository of properties. I printed off a map for you that's in front of your desk, so you can take a look at this. It doesn't have a lot of usable property on it. However, what our vision was to be able to connect the footbridge or the boardwalk back into Roland Avenue, providing for another loop in the sort of system that incorporates the bridge and the park and Roland Avenue, et cetera. So there's been no desire to consider the sale of this property. Again, an offer was made on that tract. I'm not recommending that the town sell this, and I just think that we probably should just continue to plan on putting this into our park system and utilize the land for that. But just, more than happy to discuss with the board any sort of vision or alternative for this. The offer that was made on it was for $320,000, which is a pretty large amount of money for the actual usable space. So right now there's no plans drawn up for it. However, like I mentioned before, as we continue to set out our vision for Roland Avenue and the park in its entirety, this piece was going to serve as another connection back into that system. So council does not have to do anything. If you desire to not sell this property, if you do, then you would need to declare it as surplus, and then we would accept the offer and advertise for upset bid, et cetera, go through the typical process. But again, my recommendation is that we continue to leave this in our system and we use it as initially intended, so.
I think that was the intention of the gift when it was given to the town as well, that the town keep the property and use it as a portion that they could, gain another point of access to the boardwalk behind there.
And I believe that was even in the resolution when we accepted the property, that it would be donated for Parks and Recreation. So just giving you that background on it.
Any further discussion?
I would just say, like, if that was part of the contract, that was the intention, especially since it was a gift, it's probably best to keep it as such.
Yeah, I don't think legally, I don't think you're bind. Again, I'm not an attorney. I'll preface that. I don't think you're bound by that. But it was always the intention of the town when we did receive this for a gift, and would have been documented in the resolution for Parks and Recreation. So.
Are you looking for a consensus for us just to say that we're not interested?
Yeah, that would be completely appropriate, and then we'll move on from it. It'll be disposed of.
Are you interested, Alicia?
I would prefer to keep it as town property.
Me too. I think we should retain it as town property.
Town property.
All right, Kyle, we'll move forward to item number 2, termination of contract for legal services, and this will require a vote.
Yeah, so as you all know, we are, with this action, we'll be sort of in transition to new legal counsel for the town. The town is required to appoint a town attorney. We cannot go without, but in order to do so, we need to terminate our contract or terminate our services with Mr. Brian Eads. And I will say that it has been a pleasure since I've started with the town to work with Mr. Eads. We've always obtained sound legal advice from him, and just somebody that we could always talk to. So it is with no ill intent, certainly, to Mr. Eads, but I just feel like it's time to move on with new legal services. So this action will officially remove Mr. Eads as the town attorney, and then we'll move into the next item to potentially appoint a new attorney.
We do need a motion to do that.
A motion, yes, sir.
I'll make a motion that we terminate the contract with Mr. Eads.
I have a motion to terminate the contract with Brian Eads as our town attorney. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to terminate contract with Attorney Brian Eads. Item number 3 is approval of contract for legal services, and again, Kyle will present.
All right, so on March 20th of this year, the town issued a request for proposals, or RFP, seeking legal services on a contract basis. That's how our prior attorney was set up. They're not an employee of the town. 3 proposals were received from qualified legal firms or attorneys, and interviews were held. Following the interview process, it's being requested that council appoint Mr. Brett DeSelms to serve as the town's attorney. This is in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 160A-173. Mr. DeSelms will serve as an independent contractor and will be retained utilizing a monthly retainer. Services beyond the negotiated 16 hours per month will be billed at $200 per hour. 16 hours per month was essentially determined to be that retainer amount based on having a minimum of 1 hour per week of undivided time with the attorney, as well as 2 hours set aside per council meeting, and then on an as-needed basis for planning board and then board of adjustment. So that's where we came up with the 16 hours per month, and then anything over that will be billed at $200 per hour. We will certainly keep a track on the budgeted amount for legal services, but this does put us within our requested, or our current budget, and then of course requested budget for fiscal year 24 and 25. The contract will be for 1 year duration, so a pretty short amount of time, and we will bring this back to you in April if you do choose to appoint Mr. DeSelms. Just a little bit about Mr. DeSelms is that he is works out of Jacksonville, his law firm. There's multiple attorneys on his team. However, he will serve as the town's attorney. He's married, has three daughters, if I'm not mistaken, the oldest being a senior in high school, going to NC State next year for college. So that's just a little bit of background about Mr. DeSelms. Their firm does represent other governmental entities. We found him to be competent in the interview process to serve as the town attorney. So it would be my recommendation that we do move forward to appoint Mr. DeSelms to serve for the town.
Is there any discussion?
I'm assuming that the agreed upon pay and all that lines up with what we've looked at in our budget for our attorney?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, so at this time, we would need a motion to move forward with the contract with Mr. DeSelms for legal services for the town of Surf City for 1 year.
I'll make that motion to use Mr. DeSelms for our attorney.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion, any opposed? Same sign? Motion carries to approve Mr. Brett DeSelms as our legal service. One other side note is that Mr. DeSelms is also invested in the town of Surf City. He owns property on the Canal Street, so he's invested in our town and is very familiar with our town. The next item is sole source request, and I'm going to call upon David Price to present.
Morning, Mayor, Council. I appreciate the time. Before you is a sole source request for 6 different companies. I'd like a vote on each of these. To give you a little bit of history on this, per state guidelines and our purchase policy, any purchase over $500 is required to get 3 bids, and we are supposed to award that to the most responsive bidder. The problem we run into is in the utility industry, we have proprietary technologies. So, for example, and I'll go through these, we build a plant to a specific technology, and if we have to bid it out, we could end up with a less of a technology and end up costing us more in the long run. Each of these companies is attached to different parts of our system, and they own the rights to that either chemical or technology. So what we're looking for here is to award them as a sole source in order to award them directly, legally, without having to bid it out. I'd be glad to go through the first one, which is Hawk Company. We currently use Hawk analyzers. We've invested tens of thousands of dollars into this to use this reagent. If we were to bid it out and another company came in cheaper, yes, technically the chemical would be cheaper, but we'd have to rebuy the equipment, which is another $10,000 to $20,000 investment. So for the time being, we are asking for Hawk to be made sole source.
Vote on these individually, can we vote
Individual.
on as a group?
Individual vote?
Individual, yes.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so this list is comprised to it, and I'm familiar with the maintenance industry. These are go-to people, so in other words, because they're invested in the town and they've got their equipment here, would you say that if we have a problem, the response would be better? Because they're on the list,
We do have maintenance contracts.
we have a relationship with them, so.
Yeah, so we not only do we have relationships, but some of these we have maintenance contracts where they show up within 24 hours just due to the nature of what we have.
Okay, yeah.
But also, since we use their products, we have conformity. So we have, like, for example, we'll get to it later on, Perkins Company, the valves.
Mm-hmm.
We have that exact same valve in replacement. We know exactly what we're going to buy. If we start mixing it up and going with whoever's cheaper at the time, we have to have many different kinds of valves.
Do they keep that stuff in stock?
Yes, sir, we
So
do.
There's no like 4 days, 5 days to get it?
We keep at least, we mentioned, I think I talked about it before, we keep at least one dry pump on everything
right.
in our warehouse.
And it holds true for all the companies?
Yeah. With all the mechanical ones, yes. The chemicals are shipped in weekly.
Yeah, but as far as parts go, they've
Yes.
got them available. Right, that's good for me.
A lot of
Thank you.
times when these parts or services that are required, it's an emergency, and it's, we can't wait to receive those items, so. If there's no other discussion, can I have a motion to approve item A, the Hawk?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to approve Hawk.
And the second company is a Perkinson Company. These are the actuating valves that control our wastewater plant. Our wastewater plant was designed around these valves. If we were to go with a different company, we would have to rework the plumbing of the entire wastewater plant. So, like I said, I'd be glad to go into more information, but that's the gist of it. I'd like a vote to approve, please.
Do I have a motion to approve Perkinson Company?
I'll make that motion to approve Perkinson.
Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to approve Perkinson Company.
Appreciate that. The third company is called WaterGuard. We actually received special permission from DEQ to use this chemical because it is safer. It's actually written into our permit, this proprietary technology. In order to switch to another company, we don't only have to change our function at the water plant, but actually rewrite our permit with DEQ. So staff recommends approval.
I'll make a motion to approve that company.
I'll second it then.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion, all those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to approve WaterGuard.
Thank you much. I think I'm number 4 on the list.
Custom
Custom
controls.
Yep. Custom Controls serves that's our SCADA system that runs our, we have 2 of our SCADAs in here. This particular SCADA system was designed around our collection distribution system in our water plant. This controls all communication for everything you see out in town and controlling the water plant. The wastewater plant was different, designed around a different type of technology. But this particular one, if we were to switch, we'd have to spend about $1 million to switch to a different company, even though the individual units per bid out might be cheaper, but the actual implementation of a new system would cost us about $1 million if we were to switch. So in order to keep the system running, we'd like to award sole source to Custom Controls Unlimited.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Custom Controls Unlimited. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to approve Custom Controls Unlimited.
Thank you much. Pro-Pump is a very similar situation to Custom Controls. The only difference is the wastewater plant was designed around Pro-Pump SCADA, not Custom Controls SCADA. So the same thing applies. They utilize that technology in the design. So even though a company might be cheaper for the individual parts, to switch them out would be, it wouldn't be quite $1 million because it's a smaller system, but it'd still be in the tens of thousands, if not $100,000 to switch it out. Staff recommends approval.
I'll make that motion that we approve that.
And I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to approve Pro-Pump. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to approve Pro-Pump.
I appreciate that. And the last one I got on my list is Utility Services Group. This is a company that we've been partnering with for close to 30 years now. Originally started off with our water towers. They take care of our contract negotiations for our revenue that has to do with the cell phone antennas. They also take care of our water tower maintenance. And most recently, they've implemented our AMI system. It's a huge investment we made over those 30 years, and it is actually a revenue generator for us. If we were to we have existing contracts with this company. If we were to switch away, we might get into a cheaper price on an individual service, but it would jeopardize the program as a whole because it would no longer be cohesive, and it would provide a hardship. So staff is recommending sole source for Utility Service Group as well.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Utility Services Group. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to approve Utility Services Group.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Right, next item on our list is Special Resolution Thread FX Screen Printing and Embroidery, and I'll call on our Town Manager, Kyle Brewer, to present.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor and Council. The resolution before you is to essentially authorize the town to be able to contract with Thread Effects of Topsail Island LLC. According to North Carolina General Statute 14-234, the town is prohibited from contracting or administering a contract on behalf of the town with any elected official that may derive a direct benefit from that contract. In this case, Mayor Pro-Tem Jeremy Shugarts is married to Tracy Shugarts, and as such, the town's contracting with Thread Effects of Topsail Island is subject to the provisions of North Carolina General Statute 14-234. The caveat to the statute allows for towns having a population of less than 20,000 people to be able to enter into these types of contracts. And that's generally going to be based on availability of services surrounding a smaller jurisdiction. Inasmuch, the contracting amount cannot exceed $60,000 for any 12-month period in which the town would be contracting with the entity. But also, too, the town had put out a request for proposals and had 3 responses from screen printing, embroidery type of services and types of businesses, and I'm going to go over those real quick with you. So the responses received came from the Topsail Sports Exchange, Thread Effects, and Intracoastal Designs. And items in which were requested for the pricing sheets included various things in which the town would typically utilize, such as baseball jerseys, football jerseys, baseball hats, coach t-shirts, vinyl banners, cotton tees, dry fit tees, bike bottles, cinch backpacks, town seal patch, town seal embroidery, tablecloths, beach towels, coffee mugs, and pens. I mean, this was the list in which we requested the pricing on. Of all those items, it was found that Thread Effects for things like bike bottles, cinch backpacks, town seal patch, tablecloths, beach towels, coffee mugs, and pens did have the lowest price among the 3. So what we are requesting is for the town to be able to contract with Thread Effects for the items in which are the lowest cost to the town in order to get typical shirts embroidered or uniforms or whatever it may be. This does not negate the requirement for the town to continue to seek the lowest prices on goods and services that we are seeking that would fit in this category. This is a snapshot in time, and we can request that these companies provide updated pricing sheets on a set basis, whether that's yearly or semi-annually or quarterly. So this just gives us authorization to enter into a contract should Thread Effects be the lowest price in which we can obtain that service or that good, and also with a quick turnaround, because we have had issues in the past where we need something, and it's going to be a couple of weeks before we get it. So as you can imagine, that may hold up certain departments that have uniform requirements that may need just a patch sewn on. So this resolution is before you. Again, the town had sent out the request for the pricing sheets. Nobody knew what the responses were, what the proposals that had come back to us. Amy Hubbard in our office had administered all of this for us and did a fine job with it. So in order to move forward, the council will need to consider approving a special resolution. And also, too, the additional caveat to this is that the town will maintain a general listing of contracts in which we have entered into, and that has to be posted in a conspicuous place. So the clerk will work on finding that location, and we will post that. Also, I will mention that this board did approve contract with Miss Tracy Shugarts to perform services for volleyball instructor. So it'll be the obligation of the finance department to track any expenditure that is going to these two entities that have been potentially specifically authorized for the town to contract with. So we will maintain that. We'll talk about how we're going to track this in what 12-month period, but we will always have reports available should they be requested, and we will be happy to provide those. So happy to answer any questions that council may have on this.
So you basically have done a total investigation about all this and pricing, whereabouts. I see that, with the amount of money that's made to exclude and things like that.
To the extent we feel comfortable with it, absolutely. And again, I'm gonna pick on Jody just because 'tis the season for summer camp. Is if they're going to purchase 250 cinch backpacks with screen printing on it with the Town of Surf City logo, she's still obligated to seek those quotes. But we didn't want to go through this process if we found that we had vendors that, could do this, some of this work cheaper. We wouldn't have this need, but certainly on the embroidery, it is the cheapest that we can get, and we do have a known service delivery with this entity, even when it was owned prior to the relationship with the councilman. We just had a long-standing relationship with it, so that really has, in my opinion, not a lot to do with it. We're paying what everybody else is paying for these services.
So basically, along with like David Price's amount of people that he deals with for quick service, if that's the word I want to use, quick service or quick return, they have the same quick return as opposed to some other business, so that's advantageous to us.
Yeah, that was part of our request, was that, you provide us an understanding of when we can have an understanding of when we would get this product back. For example, if police department or fire department has embroidery needs, we're going to get that done. Me, if I need a patch on a shirt, I can wait a couple of weeks if I needed to, but that did come into play with it.
Well, I see that to be pretty important, but, so are we looking for a motion to approve this resolution?
The resolution can be put on the regular agenda. Again, we can still go through this process, but we will ask that Councilman Shugarts recuse himself from any vote, even though he's not here today. He will need to recuse himself at your regular meeting in May in order for the board to adopt any sort of resolution.
Is there a date that should be put on here as far as we start from December?
Yeah, we'll probably just do it from May, or you want to do fiscal year. Again, we can talk about it. We can do it from a May resolution date, or we can just do it on the fiscal year. If we do it on fiscal year, we still do have to wait 2 more months for purchase. Okay. Then we will do that.
Fiscal year.
Yeah.
That's for the amount that we spend with them, not specifically the length of this agreement's contract, whatever you want to
Correct.
call it. Okay.
Yes.
So then for the, how does that work for, for the stuff we did with Ms. Shugarts already?
Yeah.
Have we already entered into anything financially there, or because that was the camp thing, right? I don't know if that's been completed
Yeah, I don't know if
already
the
or
camp
not.
has actually occurred yet.
Can you come up, Jody? We can't hear you. Can you come up too?
We haven't moved into those contracted services yet. That'll be coming towards the later of this fiscal year. And then we'll enter into that, and it'll start from the date of the first volleyball instruction until the end of the fiscal year.
No payments will be made until after July 1. for that, or?
It may slightly be made before that, with the contracted camps that we have on the schedule for this year, in that last week of June period, possibly.
So we'll report on fiscal year still, but we'll continue to include FY 23-24, and then as we move in 24-25, that'll be listed on that sheet as well.
So anything that would go out this fiscal, like even though the contract's for a certain date and time, we're looking at the fiscal year for that balance threshold to be met, essentially.
Absolutely.
By no ways would this resolution, would we not be seeking proposals? In David Price's situation, his situation is totally different. It's considered like an emergency type situation. You know, getting a patch put on or getting T-shirts made is not a emergency situation. You know, it is something that our Parks and Rec does move forward with, you know, getting T-shirts and jerseys printed for our city. However, it's not considered an emergency situation as in David Price. So at this time, we would still be getting 3 proposals on items from ThreadFX.
Yeah, this, and thank you for that, Mayor, and I'll reiterate again, this does not negate anything within our purchasing policy in which people have to go and seek quotes, even on an informal basis, seeking those quotes for the service or the good being provided. We wanted to get the proposal and cost sheet to even see if this process was necessary, because if I could get embroidery done for $2 as opposed to $9, we're going to go with the $2. You know, if ThreadFX never even enters the negotiation, but in this case, based on what was submitted back to us and the cost that we would be paying, we would anticipate contracts with ThreadFX for some of these basic embroidery or screen printing services. And this resolution essentially will allow us to do that. It does not circumvent the purchasing policy. It does not negate our need to continue to seek the lowest price for goods and services that we can obtain utilizing the tax dollar. So,
My comment wasn't that. My comment was basically not to do it the same as Mr. Price's list of people. It was just to infer to the turnaround time.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
all I was
Absolutely.
referring to, because, you know, you, although it's not an emergency to have shirts done and stuff, but, you know, if you've got one company that takes 2 weeks to get it back to you, and you've got one company that gets back to you within a week, it's a big difference.
Yeah, and again, you know, I have full faith and trust in department heads and those in the purchasing realm that if they need something back, they're not going to wait until the last minute to do that. They're going to plan ahead for it, and they're going to understand what that turnaround time is. But again, just having this stuff on file, I think, is good for us as we move forward and navigate through this process.
At this time, if no one has any further questions, do you have questions? We just need a consensus to move forward.
That's correct, yeah.
So move forward.
I'm going to move forward.
I'm good. I'm good.
All right, Kyle, you have a consensus to move forward. Next on our list is recruitment and a retention plan. And I'll call on Miss Lydia King to come forward and present.
Make sure this is working. Okay, cool. Good morning, Mayor and Council. How are you? Today, we are bringing you the Recruitment and Retention Strategic Plan. And this is a plan that we've been working on for several months. We started in July of 2023. And through lots of discussions and emails and research and more discussion, we have put a plan together for you guys. So we'll just go over this.
Can you move it a little closer?
I can hear
To me?
Just a little closer to you.
Like that?
Thank you.
It's okay? All right. See, you totally messed me up. I was on a roll.
I was trying not to. I was
Al,
trying.
this is-
That was intentional.
That was good.
Plan this, yeah.
Thank
Good
you.
job, Carla.
Thank you very much for
Break the ice
throwing
a
me
little
off. I appreciate that.
She told me she was going to do that.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know, just to throw you off a little bit.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it. All right, so our, the overview for the recruitment and retention plan is to get qualified employees and to retain them. And it's pretty simple on that. But we want to have the best candidates that we can that can give the best quality to our residents and our visitors. We also want to make our hiring process more efficient and that we can be but we can stand above the other governments instead of us losing people to other governments in the area that maybe they're coming to us instead. And then find ways to compete with the private sector because they are able to pay pay higher salaries and those things, and ours are more on benefits. So we wanted to look at all of these things. And we were just looking also to seek opportunities to build diversity in our organization. So we came up with goals for our committee, and our committee goals are, number one is to recruit and attract high-quality candidates, and then the second one is to make the hiring process efficient as possible, and the third is to retain the employees that we have attracted. So just a little background on our demographics. As you can see, the majority of our staff is Caucasian. That is also the majority of our population in general. And as these numbers are, just so you know, from July 2023, which was when we started this is where these demographics are coming from. And at that time, we had 13 veterans working in our workforce, and we currently have 17 now. A little bit more on the demographics. Also, between male and female, we have 80% male and 20% female in our organization. And the age groups are, the majority are in the 40, the 45 at 20, and then 20 employees in that age group. And then the next age group is 51 to 60, and there's 18 of those. So what that means for us is these are the groups that in the next 5 or 10 years are going to be coming up for retirement. So those are our biggest groups of employees that will be looking on there, and that's very important with us bringing people in to make those replacements and those succession plans. And our full-time to part-time ratio, again, this is from July, so we had 93 full-time employees at that time, is 56% is full-time and 44% is part-time employees. And this map shows you where all of our employees live. And 33 live 20 miles or more outside of the town limits, and 64 live 15 miles or less than the town limits. And what that means is for those ones that are further out, we have to do things to make sure that they're coming here, because there are government agencies and other jobs out in those areas that is closer to home. We could lose them for something simply as $1 more an hour if they're 25 miles coming to work. Those small things make a huge difference for when we have employees that live further out of town. Okay. So we'll just go over real quickly the 3 sections of our plan. The first one is the recruitment section. And because of the rapidly evolving workforce environment that we're in, we can't rely on the old methods of recruiting. Used to, you just would put an ad out, people would apply, and you're done. You can't do that anymore. You have to be creative in how you put them out there. It's Facebook, it's the website, it's radio, TV, all those things are being done to recruit people because there's so many sources to hear about jobs. And one of the things that we have found that we've already implemented through our plan is texting our candidates through NeoGov instead of emails. We have the ability to just set that up when we are going in, and it will send the candidates text, this is where you are, this is what's happening, and that kind of communication is a lot more effective with the environment we have now. And that's not just to younger people, because I know a lot of people think that, I would say that it's the younger, but most people, their phones are their lives and their computers. So if we can communicate quickly through that, we have a much better chance of them coming in and staying and being receptive and like, hey, they really want us here. Okay. I am not going to go over everything on these, so just a couple of things. What this is are just, these are our goals and objective of our plan, and you do have a copy of the full plan on there of everything that we went through and put in of what we want to see happen and the things that we need to do to have these things happening. And one of these was simply adding the hiring range to our advertisements. We were not doing that. We were putting the whole range on there, but we have modified that the whole range is on there for a grade that you're in, but what we're expecting in the hiring range. So it doesn't waste the candidate's time, because if they are not going to fall into that hiring range, then they just can move on, and it helps us to move things a little bit quickly. We've also already started a landing page, which is now on our website. It's the HR page that has frequently asked questions about the town, and our benefits and things of that nature are on that page. And we will continue with communications, Ms. Kelly. We are going to continue to build that to put the information on there that we need to put out there. We are also collaborating with the high school, both Onslow County and Pender County, and the community college for career paths, with not just a career day, but working with them to show that the town is not just a job, it's a place for a career. So I'm working with the community college and Pender County High School specifically to work on that, because they have apprenticeship programs, shadowing programs that they can work with us to get people, younger ones coming out of college or high school, on these paths, because they didn't realize, like our public utilities, you can come into a public utility job without any kind of education, because we cover that education in order for you to do that public utilities job. So we're working with them to make this a career path. Okay, we're also looking into our work schedules, talking about that, maybe having flex times with the different departments to have better work-life balance for our employees. We're also looking at, which we do this continually anyway, but we're doing a little bit deeper dive on the benefits that the town offer, and maybe even having some flexibility in those benefits. That maybe if someone doesn't have a need for this benefit, but they do this one, then we could balance that and shift, and it wouldn't be an all or nothing kind of situation where they could pick and choose certain things that we could offer different employees where they are in their lives and their families. And we're also speaking, one of the other things is possible referral bonus programs. If you can get an employee to come in and they are successful with it, there's a possible referral progress on there. We also are reevaluating our job descriptions and our job announcements. Sometimes what our job titles are do not make sense to the public. So like a collections and distributions technician, what does that mean? So even though that is our job on our pay scale, we advertise that as a public utilities worker. And when we did that, we went from we advertised the C&D technician, and we had like maybe 5. When we changed it to public utilities worker, we had 20 candidates. So we're just working on altering how we're advertising. We're not changing our job titles, but when we put it out there, we're going to do it in a manner that makes more sense to the general public. Uh-oh. Jason, what did I do? Okay. Help. Yay. Okay, there we go. So y'all, like every nightmare I have about this is happening right now. So the next part is our hiring, onboarding, and offboarding efficiencies. And as I mentioned, some of the things that we have already done about the hiring part is our advertisement and all those things, but the actual platforms that we're using, we have worked on streamlining some of the things in those that allow for the jobs to be vacant less days, which is what our key is. When we have vacant positions, we want to get them filled as quickly as possible, but we want them to be filled with qualified people. So another one of the things that came out of this was the changing the style of the interviews. Instead of having a panel interview where 3 people are sitting one on the side of the table and you're sitting over there, that works if you're an office person, but that may not work if you're a facilities and grounds person. So we're going to change up our interview styles. So it is a very big possibility for facilities and grounds when we do those interviews that we're doing them in the park. We're doing them out there. The equipment that they would be using would be out there for them to see and understand that this is what we're expecting of you. Because when we have had this happen where they come in, they do the job and they say, yes, we can do it. But when it's 90 degrees, they decide they can't do it. So if we're doing our interview in the environment that is happening, I think that will make us have a better chance of getting someone who's willing to do the job. Our applications go straight to our hiring managers. That cuts down on the days. I am not reviewing them. They go straight to the subject matter experts. So that's one of the things that we've already done. And we've also added a few more things on our applications for the candidates to fill out that gets a little bit more clear on what they do and what they're expecting as well. We're also we do offboarding exit interviews, but we're going to be working on making those more specific to the departments for that, and then we will be creating a database with that information. And then retention. We want to keep all these wonderful people that we're hiring and the ones that we have here that are working hard every day, and we want to make sure that they are satisfied and they have a long-term career with the town. So we're looking at after retirement benefits, and then possibly benefits for the regular part-time people, and then looking at the current benefits offerings that we have. One of the other things that came out of this was people understanding the benefits that they have. So we will start doing some lunch and learns so that we can have employees coming in and asking questions specifically about their benefits. And when we say benefits, most people think insurance. The town offers a lot of other benefits other than insurance. We have the employee appreciation committee, we have the employee assistance program, we have wellness programs, we have all kinds of benefits that fall outside of insurance that we want the employees to understand what they have and that they can utilize them. And that will help with their work-life balance as well. And we are also adding that kind of information to our website. We're working on building that to have that on there for the employee portal and for the website. And then, oh, that's backwards, sorry. The plan maintenance, this is the last part of the strategic plan, is to go through and make sure that these things are up to date. And the adoption of this plan is not a commitment to do everything that's listed in this plan. It's a commitment to look at these things, and it also lays out a roadmap for us on what we need to do and for us to have ways to measure the things that we never have before about how long positions are open, what the turnover rates are, and those kinds of things. So basically our plan maintenance is that the committee will be meeting quarterly, and then we will be able to report back through our liaison on things that we would like to bring to the board to adopt into our policies and those types of things, because this plan will allow us to tailor those policies in the future. And that's it. other than these are the people that made this happen. It was a lot of hours and a lot of work. These are our committee members, which was Chris Carter, James Horn, Amy Hubbard, Amy Kimes, Eric Peterson, David Price, Jody Shepherd, Alan Wilson, and Kyle Brewer. If it wasn't for all of these individuals taking time to come in and do that, we wouldn't even be able to put this plan together. And I can't express to you how much information came out of those meetings. And it's a lot, and it gave us a much different perspective from different levels on what we should be doing and how we should be thinking, and to pull us out of that old way of thinking into a newer way of thinking. And also some of the smaller things are a big deal for our employees. And we also thank the council for the consideration of adopting this plan and giving us the support to move forward with the things that will come out of it in the future. Do you have any questions?
Comment, not a question.
Okay.
I think this is a very good committee. I think you've done a great job explaining this. It makes a lot of sense to me. I was trying to read through most of the 400 and some odd pages or whatever it is last night, and I was just like, well, okay, well, I've gotten this far. I think it's great, but I think this is a great job, and thanks for doing this. It's a great job to all of you.
Definitely a group effort. So the plan itself was on there, and then all of the other pages were the survey results that we put out there. And those are actual answers from every single employee that participated on that. We had a 84% participation on that, which is huge.
There's a lot for our employees,
Yeah,
really.
on there.
I appreciate all the work that went into this. You and I spent several hours discussing it and going over all the responses, so it was good. And I think you did a great job of compiling it and making it something easy for us to understand today, so thank you, because it was a lot of information.
It was definitely a group effort. Thank you.
I know, and it was a great group. Great group.
Again, thank you, Lydia, and the committee members that took the time to put into putting this retention plan together. So at this time, we just need a consensus to agree to move forward with the recruitment and retention program.
Yes.
I'm good.
Yep.
Move forward, absolutely.
Good job, Lydia.
Thank you.
All right, item number 7, the Coastal Forest Overlay District Ordinance Revision, and Amy Kimes with our Planning Department will come forward.
Good morning. Good morning. In your packet today is a request to extend the Coastal Forest Overlay District changes that were adopted at the November meeting. So back in August, council asked that staff look at the Coastal Forest Overlay District, more so the placement of fill. The placement of fill tends to be mostly in the Coastal Forest Overlay District, which is our island and anything on the mainland that touches water or marsh. So the best place to put that fill ordinance for the time being was the Coastal Forest Overlay District. As y'all are all aware, we are currently updating our zoning ordinances. So the thought process, or my understanding, I guess, of the thought process in November was to adopt this for 6 months as kind of a intermediate decision until we could get the research and the additional information done through the zoning ordinance update. The zoning ordinance update is still a couple of months out from being adopted. Hopefully at your May 7th meeting, you will have a presentation from my consultant just kind of updating you and letting you know where we are. And then we'll follow that with a joint meeting with Planning Board where we can discuss these items, especially items of concern such as the fill ordinance and the changes that they have made. My request today is to maintain this ordinance until that ordinance can be until the new ordinance can be reviewed and adopted. We are anticipating a July-August adoption of the zoning ordinances. So today I'm requesting that we put on consent agenda for the next meeting to make this permanent with the knowledge that it will again change during the zoning ordinance update. Does anyone have any questions?
Have you had any, like, kickback or anything in regards to this?
Funny you should ask. We've only had a few lots come in on the island during this time. A few of them, we've gone back and forth and they've said we're not putting any fill or we're putting less than 4 inches or whatnot. So I've only had a couple that have actually been doing it. It's a learning process for local engineers and surveyors, and that it's not something we've required before. So there has been a little bit of back and forth. I have one person who builds in another municipality and told me I was too easy on him, that my stuff wasn't strict enough. And then I have people who are used to my not having that on there and have told me that I'm overly strict and overly complicating it. I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle on this. Part of our goal of the rewrite is to get a plot plan that we can say this is exactly what we want, so that it's a little bit less confusing, I guess, so that we can say these are what I'm talking. When I say I want the contours on here showing this grade, this is what I mean. I want this or something that basically shows that. I think the biggest thing right now has been okay, I need a grading plan, and then them being, well, like, what do you want on the grading plan? You're a smart person. You know how to do a grading plan. So it's been kind of some back and forth on that. And then we also have we've had some concerns from just the existing citizens that this fill is changing the drainage patterns on the island and it's creating issues on their property that didn't exist. Yes, maybe it's their stormwater that's now being blocked and pushed on there. Maybe it's 3 neighbors down that was coming through there, but it is a change in pattern. So yes, there's been lots of conversation, and all of that is being wrapped into the final zoning ordinance rewrite. That was long-winded, I'm sorry.
That's perfect. It doesn't sound like anybody's too upset one way or another. It's more of a learning process, not necessarily like why do we have to do this? It's what are the pieces of the puzzle to make it happen? So that's good.
But it's to mitigate the stormwater moving unintentionally onto other, isn't that kind of what
Yes,
part of
sir.
this is
It's to mitigate
that?
So we have our stormwater controls in that if you're on less than a 10,000 square foot lot, you have to treat the first 1.5 inches in 24 hours. You and I both know it rains more than 1.5 inches in 24 hours when it rains out here quite often. So you do still have some water, but the limiting of the fill, let's take, for instance, South Shore. When South Shore was built, there were no houses along South Shore. It didn't flood. Everything went into the sand. Now South Shore is almost fully built out. All of the water from the older homes and even the newer is running off and running straight to the road. So that's creating major stormwater problems for the town that we're now having to address. So we're trying to find ways to minimize. And one of the things in the fill ordinance is that if you are directing your water towards the road, or if you're grading your lot towards the road, you have to have an additional measure at the front to try to intercept that water. But it's not just the private individual homeowners that are having issues, it's the town as well.
I think this holds us accountable. It is, I think the existing landowners, property owners, they expected the town to do something about the stormwater runoff, and this is a way that we can help protect them.
Yes, ma'am.
So at this time, we just need a consensus on
To move
to move it forward to the consent agenda.
to extend it, or to make it a permanent ordinance with the knowledge that it's only permanent until we adopt the new zoning ordinance.
I agree.
Yes. All right.
Forward.
Moving forward to item number 8 is the Terraces Phase 7 final plat, and Amy will present as well.
Good morning again. The Terraces Final Plat Phase 7. So Charles Poindexter, the applicant, is here tonight, or this morning, sorry. This morning, he is requesting the approval of the final plat for Phase 7 of the Terraces. So we have approved Phases 1 through 6, with the first phase being approved on March 2nd of 2021, and off and on all the way through until August 1st of 2023, when we did Phase 6. Phase 7 is on Portico, so when you come into the subdivision, it's that first little cul-de-sac on the right. and it is the remaining approved lots within the subdivision. So this will finish what was approved on that original preliminary plat. We have met with Mr. Poindexter. There were some concerns with some of the asphalt, so they're working through some issues with that. We have a bond in place to repair the asphalt in the cul-de-sac. Mr. Poindexter is asking that we go ahead, with the bond and the map, we go ahead so that he can record final plat and start selling those lots. But we are in contact with Mr. Poindexter on the asphalt as well as his contractor, and we'll ensure that that gets repaired. So we're asking for consensus to move this forward for approval.
The issues with the asphalt, is it just consolidated to that new phase, or is it impeding any other portions of the
It's
community?
in the cul-de-sac of that phase. The road leading up to the cul-de-sac is fine. It is literally just the bulb of the cul-de-sac.
And then the repairs are gonna be done, like they can sell the lots and start building, but the repairs will be done before they get CO on anything?
Yep, there's a little bit of a subgrade issue, so we're trying to let that dry out a little bit and address that so that it's addressed correctly before we move forward. So that would have to be repaired.
These 3 lots are just in addition to the subdivision?
These 6 lots.
6 lots.
Are the final of it. The 3 lots will come later in a different conversation. But so the terraces, original preliminary plat showed 76 platted lots with 3 areas of future development. We'll have to come back to you with those 3 areas of future development. This is for the original, this closes out the original 76 approved lots. And the sidewalk and trees will go in as a part of the home construction as we've done throughout the rest of this subdivision.
Does anyone have any questions? If not, do I have consensus to move forward to put this on the consent agenda? The Terraces Phase 7 final plat.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Cal Brewer will be presenting the budget review and the manager's recommended budget.
All right, well, I promise not to keep you for 5 more hours today, hopefully. In accordance with Section 159-11 of the North Carolina General Statutes, I am pleased to present the proposed North Carolina fiscal year 2024-2025, or FY 24-25, budget for the town of Surf City for your review and consideration. The budget is a sound financial plan and follows the council's goals and objectives. All sections of the proposed budget are in conformance with the Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act as amended. A balanced budget for the upcoming fiscal year or an interim budget must be adopted by June 30th, 2024. Pursuant to General Statute 159-12, a public hearing on the proposed budget will be held on Tuesday, May 7, 2024 at 4:30 p.m. here at the Surf City Municipal Complex. This date will be advertised for public notice, and copies of the budget will be made available to local news media. With the submittal of the budget proposal to the council, copies are available for public inspection on the town's website, in the office of the town clerk, and at the front desk of Town Hall. The proposed fiscal year 24-25 Town of Surf City budget is balanced and totals $33,084,130 for all operations. The budget is spread over the following funds. General Fund, $16,451,037. Accommodation Tax Fund, $2,928,000. Water Enterprise Fund, $3,825,445. Sewer Enterprise Fund, $5,320,712. Stormwater Enterprise Fund, $460,245. Capital Reserve Fund at $275,790. Beach Nourishment Fund, $3,822,901. The town's capital improvement budget is being included for consideration within the budget ordinance adoption process. Getting into revenues, the town's largest single source of revenue continues to be from property taxes. Next year, this figure is estimated at $8,097,852 and amounts to some 49% of general fund revenues anticipated for FY 24-25. At the time this proposed budget was being prepared and based on numbers provided by Pender and Onslow County tax departments, the town is using a tax-based figure of $2,008,820,542. This figure is applied to the current tax rate of 41 cents per $100 valuation and a tax collection rate of 98.8%, generating $8,097,852 in property tax revenues. Each cent of property tax generates about $198,471.47 in revenue. The second largest source of general fund revenue is derived from local sales tax, which is anticipated to be $2,745,000 in FY 24-25. The third being solid waste user fees of $1,385,000, and fourth being local city hold harmless sales tax money of $476,625. Water and sewer fees collected in the town's water and sewer fund generate $9,144,157 for the utilities separate operation. Other revenue sources such as interest income and a variety of sales collected, local revenues are projected to be flat or slightly increased for the foreseeable future. There is a 2 to 3 month lag in receiving some of these revenues, so the annual trend is not easily observed. Expenditure estimates were compiled and formulated by the budget officer and finance director based upon written requests and justification submitted by the various department managers. These requests were made available for council review and included in the budget workbook. Each department's request was given thorough consideration based on current and prior year expenditures, proposed work program needs, inflationary trends, and a review of respective departmental operations. All revenue estimates in the budget are based upon recommendations provided by the North Carolina League of Municipalities, county tax values, current contracts, and figures provided by department heads that have revenue collection responsibility and actual revenues received during the fiscal year. This budget, like others, is influenced by a multitude of factors, including current economic conditions affecting the price of goods and services sought, escalating personnel costs, as well as current economic activity regarding growth and development. Generally, expenditure requests exceed estimated revenues, which require priority setting based on service delivery and goals. This year is no exception. Department heads are commended for their foresight and intimate knowledge of the needs of their departments, as well as how service delivery is impacted based on funding needs. Of note, budget requests exceeded this year's revenue projections by more than $2.5 million. It is common to have a larger request than what is being funded. However, sustaining service delivery and addressing capital needs in the current economic climate will require town council to evaluate that balance. In order to maintain that minimum level without sacrificing service delivery, certain capital expenditures will be funded through the Capital Reserve Fund in order to produce a balanced budget. Some highlights of the upcoming fiscal year include continued funding for beach nourishment, a combination of occupancy tax, ad valorem tax, and paid parking revenue will provide for a $3,822,901 transfer over to Fund 81. These funds are utilized to continue building the reserve amount in anticipation of the U.S. Army Corps Coastal Storm Risk Management Project. This year's transfer will grow the Beach Nourishment Fund to almost $30 million. Creation of a stormwater utility. A dedicated source of revenue to address stormwater needs throughout the town is being prioritized and implemented through a new utility. This division will fall under the overall utilities department and will carry out the goals of the town council to research, analyze, and implement a dedicated system for maintenance and improvements. Growth and development, added personnel to the community development department to address current and expected growth, funding to complete the standards and specifications manual to guide infrastructure investment and overall design of new development. Streets and sidewalks, continue the enhanced funding for town streets and sidewalks. This year's budget includes $350,000 in street maintenance and repair, and a total of $275,000 in sidewalk construction, maintenance, and repair. Added personnel on the grounds maintenance side of the facilities and grounds department. Water and sewer, continued funding for numerous capital projects and personnel, a recommended 3.2% cost of living adjustment, and 2.5% performance pay or merit based on annual evaluations. In summary, the recommended budget reflects a sound financial vision and plan for the town, and I am proud of the mayor and town council, department managers, to specifically include our finance director and employees of the town for their stewardship of the public dollar and reinvestment back into the quality of life for our citizens. I am not recommending a property tax increase. However, it is being recommended that an additional $10 be included in the sewer service fee for base consumption and increased costs for consumption tiers beyond the minimum, as well as the implementation of a stormwater utility fee, which is based on a tiered structure and impervious surfaces. No recommendations for increases within solid waste or the water service. With that, I'm going to go over and certainly welcome any questions of council as we present the balanced budget. In front of you is the budget book with tabs listed out. We start with revenues. This ranges from your property tax revenue and how you can see the growth over the years with that. And then the admin recommendation, again, those are estimates are being taken from both Onslow and Pender counties to formulate a total amount. I'm going to continue to move forward. Just stop me if you have questions about anything. Your general fund grand total revenue projected at $16,451,037. Getting into what I'll call page 1 of 52, these are your transfers. So you have a transfer to the capital reserve fund at $317,081. Again, we set up the capital reserve fund in fiscal year 23 to accommodate for any sort of lease payments or payments on any sort of financed projects, to where those monies were going into a dedicated reserve fund as opposed to being put back into general operations. You have a transfer to the beach nourishment fund at $1.9 million, and then a contribution to Pender EMS and fire at $112,000, with a total transfer amount of $2,339,482. Getting into the governing body budget, Fund 10, Department 410. The two adjustments that you see come into play are a $80 increase to dues and subscriptions, which is based on a Council of Governments annual dues notice that we received, so we made that adjustment. And then your special projects line item account was reduced from $20,000 down to $15,000, and that's to address some of the typical special projects that council funds, as well as looking at replacing some of the chairs within council chambers. We'll do that on a 2-year cycle or 2-year process. Moving into Fund 10, Department 420 or administration. Budget cuts include a cut into training, goes from $8,500 down to $5,000. Telephone and postage cut from $3,000 to $2,500. Supplies cut from $4,800 down to $4,000. Uniform allowance from $450 down to $300, with a grand total of $517,447. Human resources, salary and wages being cut. This is to account for the recommended cut for personnel, and then all of the additional items that are being cut have been requested that would have been directly associated with the additional personnel that was requested but not funded. Also, we had a slight increase in the pay study amount to look at surrounding jurisdictions and to make sure that our pay study is being maintained. Again, as you heard before, HR department continuously looking at the recruitment and retention of our employees, and that plays a big factor into that. Next item is your Fund 10 430. This is your elections line item, which has been zeroed out, as we will not see any elections within this fiscal year or budget year. The next account is Fund 10, or Department 435, your IT department. So again, some cuts were made within training, going from 4,500 down to 4,200. Printing, 300 down to 250. Dues and subscriptions, going from 28,260 down to 27,860. Hardware costs, 71,498 down to 59,750. And that larger cut there was, we cut out the door access control. We were going to change vendors with that, but we will try to delay that project for one more year. Moving into Fund 10, Department 440, which is your finance department, had minor cuts in supplies, going from 2,000 to 1,500, and then your bank fees going from 50,800 to 48,000. And we're going to continue to work on reducing bank fees for the upcoming fiscal year, but those are the two minor cuts in finance. Moving into Fund 10, Department 450, Emergency Management. The cuts in the department include minor cut in training, going from 6,000 to 4,500. Telephone and postage, $50 cut there. Maintenance and repair of equipment, going from 5,000 to 1,000. Excuse me. Gasoline costs, going from 3,000 to 2,000. And then capital outlay, going from 155,000 down to 140,000. That cuts out the message board sign that was requested, however, maintains the funding for the townwide radio project, as we all heard about last meeting. We got some information back for our workers' compensation premiums, so we were able to make a cut there from 133,500 down to 110,000, which is good. Our legal expenses, again, requested at 65,000. We cut that down to 60,000. Moving on to Fund 10, Department 501, which is your Public Works building. There were no cuts in that. Those are just your maintenance line items for the Public Works building on Juniper Trail. Getting into Facilities and Grounds, Fund 10, Department 505. Salary and wages were cut from 680, 371 down to 604, 389. As noted in the budget message, this does include adding one personnel. There, 3 were requested, but only recognizing the single addition in the department for that. So your personnel line items, FICA retirement, group insurance were all adjusted respectively. Other cuts within the department include a reduction in maintenance and repair to vehicle. That went from 30,000 down to 12,000. Gasoline from 29 to 25,000. Supplies from 55,000 to 50,000. Uniforms from 7,000 to 5,000. And then capital outlay, 141,000 down to 0. There was requests for a laydown yard construction, as well as a piece of equipment for ditch maintenance. And we're going to be meeting with DOT to see if there's any sort of revenue that we can get from them for ditch maintenance to be able to purchase that equipment. So we will continue to work on that. Getting into Fund 10, Department 510, which is the police department. Personnel or salary and wages going from $2,057,000 requested down to $2,006,755. This does cut a position within police department, does maintain funding for one officer as opposed to two, even though our strategic plan and matrix had called for two employees. We did have to cut one of those. Personnel costs were adjusted accordingly. As you can see, we also made some minor cuts in maintenance and repair of building from $6,000 to $5,000, maintenance of equipment from $8,000 to $4,250, maintenance of vehicle from $50,034 down to $35,000, gasoline from $77,142 down to $65, capital outlay vehicle $290,000 down to $230,000. This covers the 3 vehicles on the replacement schedule as well as a new vehicle for the new officer. And then a cut in capital outlay PD equipment from $107,775 down to $26,775. The other cut here was for capital outlay and PD grants for $25,000. This does not eliminate the ability to go out and seek grant funding. If a grant is awarded, we will process a budget amendment to accept that grant, draw it down, and seek the reimbursement for it. Moving on to Fund 10, Department 530, your fire department. We had requests for 4 new positions, 3 being the staffing plan for the ladder truck. The 3 captain positions were requested, as well as assistant chief for training purposes and admin work as they continue to see their administrative functions increase. Unfortunately, we're not able to fund those positions this year. They have not been forgotten by any means. So your personnel costs and subsequent line items reflect those reductions. We do have reductions in professional services from $21,750 down to $20,000. Training from $25,400 down to $22,600. Utilities, $47,000 down to $42,000. Your travel from $25,600 down to $18,275. Maintenance building from $37,000 to $34,500. Gasoline from $35,000 down to $33,000. Supplies, $24,700 down to $20,000. Uniforms, $29,500 down to $25,500. Small cuts in fire prevention and education from $10,125 to $9,225. Dues and subscriptions from $35,755 down to $29,530. Capital outlay of vehicle from $55,000 down to $0. This was for administrative vehicle. Capital outlay building from $120,000 down to $0, and capital outlay equipment from $121,000 down to $46,000. We had some duplication of budgeting for radios and some of the Station 23 exterior improvements. We'll continue to do an analysis on that and see if we can seek a more cost-effective way to get that work completed. Moving on to Fund 10, Department 540, Community Development. Salary and wages, we are recommending to move forward with the addition of 1 new employee as well as 1 new employee to assist, 1 new vehicle to assist with the inspection side of that department. Minor cuts include telephone and postage going from $7,280 to $6,680, printing from $6,500 to $6,000, advertising from $1,200 down to $1,000, uniforms from $1,600 down to $1,500, capital outlay equipment from $110,000 down to $55,000. This cuts out a vehicle request, and then the IT cost shared from $42,482 to $36,950. Let's see, We have Fund 10, maintenance and repair of streets and sidewalks. Again, out of Fund 10, this is just your general fund expenditures. We did cut the maintenance and repair for storm drainage from 100,000 down to 25,000. That 25,000 will be utilized within the sort of to accommodate the 75,000 that is set aside in the the stormwater utility fund. So that will give them a full total amount of the requested 100,000 for capital projects, but everything else remains funded at the requested amount. I'm not going to get into too much detail on the sanitation or solid waste. This is all run through our contract with GFL, as well as the employees that work within solid waste to do the rollback program. There's no change in that budget year over year. Similar with the parking, this got moved under the beach nourishment fund as a separate expense, but again, no change in that. Fund 10, Department 620, and I'm on page 24 of 52, just so I don't lose you. If anybody needs anything, let me know.
Need to pause for a second.
Yes, that mayor has you.
Okay.
That's on the mayor, not me.
Have a motion to pause, just recess.
Recess for a minute.
Okay.
Salary and wages, those were cut. There's requested a assistant director or deputy director, a athletics coordinator position, and then partial for special events. Our recommendation is that move forward with the partial special events, but the other two positions will not be funded. And then your subsequent personnel line items below that will be adjusted to reflect that. Let's see, other minor changes. You had a $492,000 request in capital outlay for facilities, which got cut down to zero. And then capital outlay equipment, $75,000, that got cut down to $20,000. And I will note that some of these other expenditures not related to personnel were purposely cut as we have some other projects, that we're working on, that we will still try to fold these back into. For example, I'll use the generator at Station 25. We're due for a replacement of that generator, but we're also due to expand the bay at 25, which, if we move forward with that project, we'll roll that generator into potentially a larger borrowing on that project. So just wanted to give you that reminder, and for those listening in. Let's see, the next item, moving into Fund 21, is just some revenue projections within that fund. So no changes with that. No changes generally within Fund 21. So you'll see from page 27 of 52, we can kind of get on to 31. That includes the Ocean Rescue Program. That includes our police beach patrol program, at least the officer that is assigned for beach patrol, et cetera. So that's some of those line items and accounts for Fund 21. I will note page 32 of 52 is the additional maintenance and repair of sidewalks and streets that we budget to get the total number that was reflected in the budget message that I had introduced the budget with. Similar to Fund 21, tourism, salaries, activities, et cetera. You have things like crossover maintenance that go into this, the beach wheelchair expenses, et cetera. No changes in that. Getting into Fund 30, or your water department, again, these are expenditures that are directly tied to the revenue received through the water fees and sewer fees. So that budget has not been affected. So you can see all the expenses covered under that, under Fund 30-420. And then we move into your water department salary, and all the other line items. These budgets are not being changed from what was presented. And then you get into the sewer side, collections and distribution. Again, no changes recommended within those budgets. So what was presented to you remains consistent. And then you have your Fund 31, which again goes into just the admin and all the other maintenance and repair of equipment. Nothing is being changed with that. Get into stormwater collection. So this year is new for stormwater. This is your Fund 32. So you now have a 30, 31, and 32 for utilities. So this was carefully presented, and a fee being assigned to collect the revenues being projected out. This fee will start at the $6 per month and is based on the equivalent residential unit, or ERU. The utility department just led a series of community meetings to discuss stormwater and sewer rate introduction or fee increases. So those meetings have concluded. We got some good feedback. Staff did a good job at presenting the information. People took the information. They at least understood why the town was seeking these increases or the new fees. So we did what we could to address those, and I believe there's a presentation that's on the website if anybody needs to go back and look at that. And I'm speaking more to just the general public who may be listening in or may go back to watch this, as I know Price doesn't want all the advertisement happening. So again, no changes in that. I will note as you get into Fund 80, which is the appropriation fund balance to balance this budget. This was in the amount of $275,790. And that number will come from your capital reserve fund. We are not going to take that out of your general fund reserve. And we will fund some of the capital items that were requested out of that fund. But we will need to do a transfer out of the reserve in order to balance this budget. So again, that kind of just speaks to, the message in which was prepared in the budget message, and just some of the, as you all know me, some of the early warning signs that I feel is my obligation to bring to this board for considerations of the departments and what they do, and the service that they deliver and strive to be the best quality that we possibly can. This process is never an easy process. And you've heard me say this before, if we could fund all the requests, we would, and the department heads do a good job at understanding that, they have a job to do. I commend them for putting forth the requests and the needs that they feel that they need to do in order to do the job and still represent the town at the highest level. And if there's ways that we can incorporate that, we will, but just understand that, we only have so much money to assign to our expenditures based on the revenue coming in. So, again, I know I'm preaching to the choir, and everybody works well with each other, and I'm not trying to justify that any further, but it's a tough process, and I know that this board certainly recognizes that, and you all have a tough job to do, but I do feel confident that the budget that is presented to you, is a balanced budget, as we're required to do so by law, but also maintains a service delivery that meets the expectations, or generally meets the expectations of our residents and visitors, and that we do have a solid financial plan moving into the new fiscal year, 24-25. Also, as part of the budget, you do have a fee schedule that is proposed. This fee schedule goes out to all departments to make adjustments. We can go through these real quick. The first department, Community Development and Planning, we made fee adjustments last year. However, we are making a couple of recommendations on, as you'll see on page 6 of the fee schedule, going for a gas piping flat fee of $200 as opposed to $100. Residential repair and renovation, again, going back to the gas piping of $100 as opposed to $75. Additional standalone permits, electrical service or meter-based change-out, $100 per 200 amp being recommended. Generator inspection, $200 plus $50 zoning fee, because there is a zoning permit associated with that. A dumbwaiter or cargo lift, $200 plus $50 for the zoning. HVAC change-out only, $100 for the first unit, $50 for each additional unit, as opposed to $100. And then gas piping for commercial is going to $200 when not part of a renovation or new permit. Residential gas, again, similar, is going to be $100 when not part of a new or renovation permit. And I believe that was it for community development. Fire department, no changes being recommended in the fee schedule that is being presented. You do have a, getting into general fees, food inspection fee, food truck inspection is $250. And then annexation application to cover all the investigations and administrative work that the clerk is tasked with doing, applying a $250 annexation application fee. No changes in parking recommended for this upcoming fiscal year. However, we do continue to look at that, and I may be presenting based on some data that we're seeking, creating a potential C parking area and reducing the cost for parking, and this is applied to some outlying areas that we see generally no occupancy of parking, and we'd like to get at least some revenue as opposed to none, but I don't want to bring that to you until I have some data to back that up. Parks and Recreation and Tourism, so there's some general fee increases here, starting off the Welcome and Event Center, going from $90 hourly rental fee for your resident rate, $100 hourly rental for your non-residential, non-resident rate. Hourly rentals after hours go to from 90 to 100, and 100 to 110 for resident and non-resident respectively. And then the full day rental going from 950 to 1,080 for resident, and then non-resident going from 1,080 to 1,210. Full day rental on the weekend would go from 1,080 to 1,210 for resident, and then for non-resident 1,210 to 1,340. And then the incorporation of a late application fee for special events. Again, Town of Surf City souvenirs between $5 and $65. This is a wide-ranging fee range because there's items that we may purchase to sell that we can't list them all within the fee schedule. So this gives us the ability to set those prices. And then you have some other special event related fees, cone rentals up to 10 cones per day, from $10 to $20 per set, electrical service per day from 20 to 30, and then event rentals, barricades, $100 to $150 per 10, for resident, non-resident, $150 to $200 per 10. So that's the special event fee schedule. I will note that I have asked our Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Department to specifically look at our special event fee schedule. So I do anticipate some changes and some additions coming forth to you based on the potential and realization of larger scale events coming to Soundside Park and other parks that we need to accommodate. Getting into wellness programs, that fee has gone up. So resident rate from $7 to $40, non-resident $7 to $50. Again, that's all going to be based on what the wellness class or workshop is being offered. And then, again, you guys have this in front of you. It's available. I'm not going to go through each one unless you want me to, but there's some modest fee adjustments within your fitness center or community center fees for passes, et cetera. We have a gymnasium rental that has gone up from $100 to $150 for resident, and then $125 to $175 for non-resident. Athletic camps have gone up, as you can see within here. Again, I'm not going to go through each one of them. But again, this goes into fee adjustments for resident versus non-resident, and then also the ability to register for some of our programming ahead of time before it goes out to the general public. And then some additional recreational programs from Tot Time to day camp or parents' night out. Again, they continue to add new programs within the department, which we do appreciate. Some rate fees within utilities, as noted. If you'll look at the sewer base rate, 0 to 2,000 gallons, going from $47.37 to $57.37, and then each tier should reflect a 12% increase beyond that. Let's see, what else we got? We have the stormwater fee, single family and duplex, $6 per account or equivalent residential unit. And then the stormwater fee for commercial and multifamily unit, That equivalent residential unit is based on a 2,556 square feet of impervious area. That'll be started at $6, and each ERU will be applied based on that square footage number. And we need to change that to impervious, by the way, not pervious. So no additional fee changes in utilities, and that concludes the fee schedule and budget presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have. Again, this will be made publicly available within the clerk's office, online, in town hall, main lobby, and we'll send this to media. We are scheduled to advertise for the public hearing for your May 7th meeting. We will hold that public hearing, and then I will request council's consideration of adoption if you so choose to adopt the budget at that time.
Now, does that include that fee schedule too?
The budget will include the fee schedule. So if there's any recommendations for staff to review any specific fees, we will do such, and we can make those adjustments and get those back to you. That will not delay our process, but I would like some guidance from council as to what fees you would like us to look at, and we will bring back additional recommendations to you.
So you're stating that we can move forward with consensus of the budget, however, bring back the fee schedule with recommendations?
Yes, I would, if there's specific items within the fee schedule, I would respectfully request that you tell me what those are now, so that we can do the work necessary to get them back to you, so we don't delay the process. And if we do end up delaying the process, we can adopt a budget and the fee schedule and always go back and amend the fee schedule too. So, totally up to y'all.
I'd like to go into it a little more detail, but just off
Yes, sir.
off my knee-jerk reaction is some of the non-resident park and rec fees for.
Okay.
Well, I'm not trying to punish out-of-state or out-of-town people, but I don't feel like we're really taking care of the.
Understood.
I feel like there should be some room in there to do that. And there was a couple of things on the Park Amphitheater, I thought, and cones and gates and stuff. I
Yeah,
thought it
and-
looked like
and
there
that's
should be some
something-
movement. It looked like there was plenty of room in there for a little movement.
Absolutely. So we can, the fee schedule adjustments were due back, this was a few weeks ago. So we have not let department heads mess with the fee schedule or anything with the budget. But if you want us to look at those things, we will, and we'll do it as soon as possible and provide the recommendations in a revised fee schedule back to y'all. If that's a general consensus of the board that you want us to look at the resident, non-resident rate for recreation type of activities, as well as special events fee schedule.
Rollback, like cart service, that's something that we had paid for, and I don't use that personally because I have a 10-year-old that's his job.
Yeah.
So is that something that's charged to everybody, or is that something that we can give people an option to sign up for?
Yeah, it is not posed as an option at this point. It's just something that's absorbed into your fee.
Actually eliminated it.
Yeah.
But it's never been removed from the fee schedule.
Okay.
So I think that's what you're talking about, right?
Okay.
We can.
We can remove that.
You
Yeah.
want to remove-
Page are you on?
24 public utilities. It's $4.25 per
Yep.
cart per month, is what it
Yep,
says.
yep, yep.
What page?
24.
You had already said, you guys are already planning to review the fees for rentals for the park?
Yeah, that's, I've asked Jody and her department to kind of lead that process. It goes beyond the fees with special events, and, you know, it's policy, and it is the manual in which we govern special events with, and, you know, you all will have some policy decisions to make on special events so that it'll help guide the restructure of the manual, you know, and the fees, because we'll want to incorporate all of that in there.
Okay.
What was these fees compared to other municipalities?
Yeah,
See
that's,
what they charge, I mean,
that's
so-
generally, you know, what local government is doing. You know, I wish we could do the detailed analysis of a true business model and set fees on it, but, you know, we do get there with utilities, for example. We know exactly what we need. Parks and Recreation with things like camps, summer camps, you know, registration and stuff like that. So, but yeah, if you know, the cost of 10 cones, you know, that's something that is probably, it's not arbitrary. It is a set fee, but it's generally looking at what other places are going to charge.
Okay, so you need just a consensus to move forward with the budget that is presented, however, to go back and review the fee schedule
Yes.
in the Parks and Rec Tourism,
And the special events.
and the special events.
The special events kind of covers multiple departments.
Consensus?
Yep, I'm good.
All right, we're good.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Kyle
Mayor.
And Melissa and all the departments that worked hard on putting this budget together for us. I know it was a hard year, and we had to make a lot of cuts to get a budget to balance. So at this time, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.